Very rarely do you get a group of people, especially a group of actors, who genuinely love being around each other and hang out outside of filming. And we would all hang out outside and have like little trailer parties, and it was so much fun. And
Welcome to WatchMojo's Poppin the Culture, your weekly entertainment touchpoint. And me, well, I'm your host with the most mojo, of course. That's right, it's me, Mr. Hollywood himself, Matt Demers. Such a great show coming your way. I'll be speaking with Ashley Reyes. She's one of the stars of the new show How I Met Your Father. Plus, I'll be speaking with the director and some of the stars of the new horror film, The Long Night. Don't want to miss it, but first, let's jump into those Hollywood headlines. All right, as we do each and every show, we kick things off with a look at some of the more interesting developments out there in Hollywood. I always need help breaking it down, and I always appreciate my guest today. Phoebe, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. I'm excited to chat with you about lots of interesting things happening out there in Hollywood. One being a big new movie. I'm a little curious whether or not you're a fan of a show, now a movie franchise, by the name of Jackass. Now, be honest, because I peg you as a big Jackass fan.
You do? I am. I really am a big Jackass
Are
fan.
you? I was joking, but now are you
I thought
joking?
you were being sarcastic, but no, I'm not joking. I'm a real fan.
Okay.
No, I'm a fan. Yeah. I mean, I love watching them. Some of them are a little, like, anything that has to do with, like, bodily fluids, I don't want to see that. It's just too disgusting. But the stunts and everything are so much fun. And I'm so excited for this new movie.
Amazing. You know, I had this on the topic list, and I was like, oh, Phoebe's going to hate me for talking about Jackass. But here you are, an actual fan. I love this because I'll tell you what. When the show came out, I was like, well, this isn't my type of humor. I'm going to hate this. But then when I saw the movies, it was something about it that I really enjoyed. And I'd be lying if I said I didn't see every single movie that's come out since. So it's something about this group of people, those friends, that's, I don't know. I can't really put my finger on it. Why do you think the cast is so likable? People like watching them do these stupid things. Who we got? We got Knoxville, Steve-O. Bam is not in this movie. That's a whole other controversy. But what do you think about it? What is it?
I don't know. They're just so profoundly likable and magnetic. And I think, like, it's kind of like we live vicariously through them. It's kind of like things that, like, you know, as children, you imagine doing all these crazy stunts and stuff to a certain extent. So I think it's kind of like that meta living vicariously through them on screen. And they're also just, like, so likable and lovable. And I think it's because of the authenticity. I really don't feel like they're putting on an act when they're acting crazy like that. They're just, like, being themselves, which I think a lot of people really love.
Yeah, I think you nailed it with the living vicariously through them, because it's like me. I would never do any of the things that they do, but I love watching them do it. Does Jackass, I mean, this was big in the early 2000s, you know, that kind of shock humor and the kind of prank reality, if you will. Does that still have a place today? Because, I mean, the world's changed since then. Clearly, the audience is still there somewhat, or else they wouldn't be putting this movie out. But I don't know. What do you think? Do we still have room for jackasses in today's day and age?
I definitely think so. I think it plays into nostalgia for a lot of people. We've been seeing that as a trend throughout Hollywood for a really long time now. People will just come in droves to watch movies that make them feel nostalgic for, like, an earlier time in their life. I think that this is one of those cases. I think that Jackass is, like, a really unique one because I've watched a lot of other prank shows. I mean, Impractical Jokers is, like, one of my favorite shows, just to clarify. I'm not talking about that one. But I've watched a lot of, like, Netflix original prank shows that just, like, they don't really have the same, like, it's just that, like, that it factor that Jackass has that I think it'll always have a built-in fan base.
No, you're right. And it's also nice knowing now that the actors that are in this particular movie are not as troublesome as they were previously, right? Like Steve-O, I don't know if you've seen Steve-O now. Like, he does a podcast, and I've seen clips of him on my socials, and it's like, wow, he's taken a 180, completely sober. And he actually looks back at the stuff that he's done. So, props to him. Knoxville has made a wonderful career in Hollywood as being an actor. Although, I don't know how much more stunts he's got left in him because
No more.
yeah, now the reports are saying what? He's got some serious injuries to the old noggin, so.
Yeah, no, I'm super happy for Steve-O. It's such a pleasure to see him living his best life, and everybody loves him, so I'm really happy that he decided to turn his life around. Johnny Knoxville, I mean, this will probably be the last thing that Jackass does, just because he recently sustained some serious brain damage. So let's just enjoy it.
Yeah, there you go, and let's hope that we talk. I mean, the headlines previously when they were filming it was the BAM situation. He was suing them. So let's hope that things work out for him, because you like to see that. You don't want to see these troublesome individuals stay that way, right?
Yeah.
It's always a nice story. Speaking of troublesome, I want to move on to my next topic, because if you were a 90s kid, well, you knew that the it couple at the time was a couple by the name of Pamela Anderson, Tommy Lee. It was a whirlwind romance. And of course, the troublesome aspect comes in the form of a particular tape that the couple had. A new miniseries is coming out called Pam and Tommy. It's on Hulu. Pamela Anderson doesn't want to have anything to do with this, although Tommy Lee has said, yeah, let's show the world that we were the originators, right? I think of them almost as, who do we have now? Machine Gun Kelly and Megan Fox are almost that level. But, I mean, Pam and Tommy were huge. What do you make of this miniseries? Are you going to be watching it?
I don't know. I actually have kind of a qualm with this, just because of the whole situation with Pamela Anderson not really being involved whatsoever, and kind of voicing, well, she hasn't necessarily voiced her disdain, but a lot of her friends have, Courtney Love has. So I just find it really ironic that they're making this television show about a huge violation of privacy without the approval of the people that the invasion of privacy happened to. I just find that really ironic. And I know that the TV show kind of seeks to expose the hypocrisy of the whole situation and how Pamela Anderson was unfairly targeted in that scandal. But it's kind of it's kind of hypocritical in its own right, because they don't even have her permission to make the TV show.
I know. You nailed it. There's a bit of exploitation. Absolutely. I will say, though, the actress that's playing Lily James, who's playing Pamela Anderson, my God, it's amazing how Pam in the 90s and her, Lily James, side by side, it's incredible. Not just looks, but the way they're talking, the way they're acting. It's insane. So I don't know. That's crazy. And then who's Tommy Lee is played by our Winter Soldier,
Sebastian Stan.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really cool. I mean, when I saw the images that first came out from the TV show, I was so impressed. Wow, the makeup is so good and the costume design is so good, and it really brings you back to that bygone era of the 90s. But yeah, I have an issue with it, just because I think when the sex tape was originally leaked in 1994, which admittedly was before I was born, we had a really different attitude towards sex and sexuality in general. And if you compare that to the Apple iCloud leak of 2014, where celebrities like Jennifer Lawrence, Kate Upton had their nudes leaked, the way that the public reacted to those two different situations was completely different, because things are evolving and changing. So it's weird to harken back to this just as a topic on a Hulu and also Disney Plus show. It's going out on Disney Plus. What?
Yeah, apparently there is a whole lot of frontal nudity and even Tommy's member talks in the show. It has a speaking role. His nether regions. I'm not sure if that's
Is this Big Mouth or?
Yeah, so that's something we can look forward to. But yeah, I don't know. I'll be watching. I'm a sucker for nostalgia, but you're right. The whole fact that Pamela Anderson wasn't involved in any way does put a little bit of a damper on my enjoyment and excitement for the show. So I don't know. I want to know what people out there. Are you going to be watching this, Pam and Tommy? Let us know in the comments. Okay, speaking of romances, we've been getting some Valentine's Day recommendations from my guests. Rebecca threw out a few. We had Kira. Now, Phoebe, I tasked you. Now, I keep telling people you can pick alternative movies like those anti-Valentines. Nobody's done it yet. They've stuck with the traditional kind of rom-coms, if you will. I'm curious to see what you think. What is Phoebe's Valentine's Day viewing recommendations.
Well, I'm sorry to disappoint. I did not choose like an anti-Valentine's Day movie.
Okay,
I'm
okay.
a real sucker for a good classic rom-com. So my two picks, the first one is Some Kind of Wonderful, the John Hughes movie.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, fabulous movie. It's actually like, it's funny because the story behind this movie is that, have you ever seen Pretty in Pink?
Yeah, of course.
Obviously.
Yeah.
You know how she ends up with Blaine in the end. So originally the ending had her ending up with Ducky, but test audiences booed. So, you know, they had to change the ending.
No way.
So John Hughes wanted to make a movie where the two besties ended up together in the end. And so in response to Pretty in Pink, he made Some Kind of Wonderful, which is one of the most like heartwarming, sweet, wonderful, like peak rom-com movies of all time.
Nice.
And it's just so like feel good and it's different, you know, it's really fabulous. So that's one.
Yeah, I saw Pretty in Pink. I haven't seen this one, but I obviously know of it. So now it's, one I'll probably check out with my rom-com loving significant other. Do you have another one?
Yeah, I do. Moonstruck. Another one of the classic.
Is this Cher?
Cher and Nicolas Cage.
Yes, okay.
Like this movie it's one of the best movies ever made. It's one of the best movies ever made. It's a classic rom-com, and I just love it. I love it.
What do you make of Nicolas Cage? Just in general, not in the rom-com sense, just because he is such like a polarizing figure. And I, admittedly, when I see Nicolas Cage in a movie, I kind of get excited because I never know what I'm going to get out of him. And based on, like, he was in this romantic comedy, but he also does things like Face Off. But he also does, dramas. And then he also does, like, the Bangkok Dangerous stuff. I mean, this guy's all over the map. I'm just curious about your particular Nicolas Cage take.
Yeah, I feel like he's one of the great wonders of the world. No one can really pin him down. Have you seen that episode of Community where Abed does a class on, like, Nicolas Cage and he goes crazy trying to figure it out? He is really good in some things and really bad in other things. I recently watched the movie about the pig. What's it called? Pig?
It's just called Pig. Yeah, it's so great.
Yeah. It's such a weird movie. Anyway, my opinion on that movie notwithstanding, I think like he can be like really good in some things and really bad in some things, but I won't try to like figure him out because I think I'll lose my mind.
An enigma. That's what he is. Nick Cage.
An enigma, yeah.
I love him. I love him and his hairline. I don't know. It's like a whole thing. Nicolas Cage's hairline gives me nightmares. Okay, Phoebe, we're going to have some fun in a moment, but I need you to do me a favor and not go anywhere because it is time to go beyond the list.
Let's go.
All right, Phoebe. So what we do is we dig deep in the vast archives of WatchMojo. We pluck out an old top 10 list and we go beyond that list. Today, it's the top 10 things kids today will never do, right?
This is a good one. This is a really good one.
I have nieces that are pretty young, obviously younger than me, and I talk about things and they give me that look like, what?
Huh?
Yeah. So I'm assuming a lot of those instances will be on here. If you are someone who loves going back, let's buckle in for these. Number 10, kids today will not know how to use a phone book. I love this. Do you remember?
Yeah, phone book. Yeah,
do they
of
still
course.
exist?
I don't know. And I kind of don't really like the idea of a phone book. It's kind of like anyone can find your phone number. So I'm kind of happy that people don't use it anymore because it's creepy.
Yeah. People don't know how to use a phone book. I remember Ellen used to do these fun little things where she'd have a guest on and she would give them things and ask them to do stuff like look up a number. Yeah. So phone books. Yeah. That's interesting that kids don't know how to do phone books.
I don't even remember phone numbers anymore. Like
I don't either.
I was born in 1995, so I got like the tail end of all the things on this list, and I remember them well. But I can't even remember phone numbers anymore because I don't need to.
Yeah, I remember making up songs like jingles for my friends' phone numbers so I'd remember them. But now it's like you don't need to do that at all. But what's kind of scary is that if you don't have your phone and you need to call somebody in an emergency, you don't know their number.
I know the number to 911, so that's all
there
I need
you go.
to know.
That's the only number you need these days, right? Okay. Number 9 on this. Kids today, they don't know how to read a printed map. The old fold out maps, or Do you remember back in the day, you'd have to do like a map quest where you could put your destination in and it would print it out and you'd be in the car and you'd be like, okay, turn left on.
Yeah, I'm directionally impaired also. So I was too young to ever have driven with a map like that, thank God. But I remember my dad having like 8 pages when we were like driving up to Florida or something. And it was such a mess.
How are they able to, because it's just like so tiny. It's like a little line and it's like, wow. And plus you're driving and you're looking at this big fold out thing. So now it's all on the phone. GPS.
So much better.
It's a wonderful thing. Plus you can have them speak in different accents, right?
Right. I think like Waze or something has Michael C. Hall now.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and I'm like, I'm getting Waze.
I know that there's I believe there's a Samuel L. Jackson, and there's who's the Penguin narrator guy?
Penguin.
Morgan Freeman.
Oh.
Remember he narrated a Penguin movie, remember?
It's just so funny. That's the one that you chose to be like, the Penguin guy.
Yeah, the Penguin guy.
Not like the guy who always plays God or...
No, the multi-Academy Award winning Morgan Freeman.
Penguin, man.
Did that Penguin movie once. All right. Number 8, kids of today, the multi-tap texting. Okay, this is interesting because when cell phones first came out, you had to, in order to get like specific letters, you kind of had to hit different keys because you had like a weird...
Each key had like 3 letters that it was associated with, so you had to like if it was A, B, C, you'd have to click twice for B.
Because it wasn't like a touch screen; it was like you actually used your the pad, which is weird.
Yeah, when I was in high school, I wasn't allowed to have a cell phone, and so whenever I needed a cell phone, if I was going out with my friends or anything, my dad would lend me his. At that point, the touch screens, they were out, you know what I mean? But my dad would lend me his old flip phone and I'd be like texting like a mad woman.
Don't you find like in movies where like this old kind of technology is there? Do you find that strange? I was watching a movie, I forget what it was, but there was a flip phone, like an old school, and it just took me kind of a little out of it.
Yeah, I find it takes me out of it when people have iPhones in movies. It actually really bothers me. I don't know why. That ringtone in the movie, I'm like, oh my God, I'm out.
Yeah, that's actually very common, actually, especially in a lot of shows. All right, number 7's fun because I did it, and that's blowing into a video game cartridge. And of course, did nothing. And Nintendo actually said, don't do that because the moisture can actually ruin the game. But we all did it. Back in the day, you had these cartridges you'd put in, and then if it, for some reason, it didn't work or was like... pixelated, you would take it out and you'd go blowing it, put it back in, and sometimes it worked and you're like, oh, it worked.
I think Nintendo telling us that it doesn't actually work is just them trying to keep the secret that it does work, because it absolutely does work.
But like,
I don't know what they're talking about.
Who told us to do it? Because I think this is like one of those things that everybody did.
Yeah, I don't know. Collective insanity, I guess.
There you
but
go.
I remember because my brother had, I think it was a Nintendo where you put the thing in like that and you would blow the thing if it wasn't working. And like even as a child, instinctively I did that. Nobody told me to.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Like no one told us to, but we all kind of did it.
Just felt right.
Yeah, there you go. Kids today they don't know what you're talking about. What are you talking about? You got blow. It's on your device already. Number 6 is develop film. I don't know if I developed too much film, but yeah, this is interesting because you'd actually have to go. And what's weird about that is before like digital cameras, you didn't know what the picture looked like. You know, you could, so a lot of times you would get them back with like a thumb was in the way or these really like awful photos.
Yeah, no, I remember many a school trip where I would bring like a disposable camera and go and get the film developed at the pharmacy, and the photos would be so bad. But I think it's kind of one of those things that's making a comeback because it's a nostalgic thing and it's kind of like a novelty thing where you can actually get the photos printed. I mean, you can get the photos printed off your phone too, but I see a lot of people doing that. And it's cool. It's cool to have that like physical copy.
Yeah, but when you get it printed off your phone, you know what photo, you can actually select the photo that you want. With this, you don't know. You don't know.
It's a gamble. It's like a surprise.
What actually creeped me out about this too is that when you go to these places, people actually look at your photos, right? So there's
1 hour photo, Robin Williams.
Yes, that's what I was going to say. So I watched that movie, Robin Williams, incredibly creepy. I think it still holds up because I remember watching this not too long ago. And yeah, that kind of like creeped me out about people actually going through your photos and seeing all the craziness. So there you go. Okay, number 5 on this list is using a rotary phone. Oh, this goes back to that Ellen bit that I was talking about, and people had no idea how to use it. And you see this online too with kids are given this rotary phone and they don't know. So what is it? You had to lift the lever and then you had to go all the way, right?
Yeah, to drag there was like a marker where the number was supposed to go, and you drag the hole to the marker. So
the key was it had to be you had to lift the lever, and then you had to go all the way. I think was the key to this rotary phone.
So.
It looks so strange. I remember we had the phone on the wall with the long cord. You know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. My parents, like I said, I was born in 1995, so it was kind of at the tail end of all this stuff. But yeah, my parents never had one of those kinds of phones, like it was the one on the wall or whatever. But my grandparents had that phone, and it was fun. I thought it was so much fun. I'm like,
yeah.
You gotta work to make a phone call.
Yeah, I was gonna say it was like, hopefully you're not in a rush. So it's like, and then if you hit the wrong one, you're like
911.
Go again. Strange stuff. Yeah, kids today. You don't have to worry about that, kids. Okay, number 4 is making a mixtape. Not gonna lie, I did this, but I did it like with the rate, like I'd record stuff off the radio with another device. It was terrible, but I did it. Yeah.
Yeah, me, it was more like burning CDs.
Burning CDs, of course, was a big one. Yeah, that came later.
Yeah, the mixtape thing I never actually did, but I love the idea of making a mixtape for someone. It's so romantic.
I never made it for anybody. I think I made it just for myself for songs that I liked. But that was a lot of work because you'd have to wait by the radio or you'd have to wait for those like countdown shows.
Yeah.
It was silly. But then, yeah. So you really had to like the song. And now, yeah, I also, sticking with this, also, if you went on road trips, people would have those binders full of CDs. And like they would just throw it at you. And then you're in the passenger seat just trying to find the CD, right? And they're all like burns. Yeah.
I still have one. I have one full of all of my angsty teen music.
Yeah, kids today, they don't know what that is. They got it all. They got their playlist on their phone, right?
Don't get it.
What's this binder full of? A treasure trove of music. All right, number 3, kids today. They don't get excited for Saturday mornings with all the cartoons. They can watch the cartoons whenever they want. I do remember watching Saturday morning cartoons and getting excited about specifics. I remember I'm a superhero guy. I remember specifically the X-Men animated series was on Saturday mornings, and that was kind of a big one for me. Did you have any cartoons that you enjoyed?
I can't remember if they were Saturday morning, but I was a big Blue's Clues girl. I still have all my Blue's Clues stuffies and everything at my parents' house. But yeah, when I was a kid, like on Saturday mornings, I would wake up before everyone, and I'm like 3 or 4 years old at this point. I'd get up, I'd make myself a little breakfast, a little bowl of cereal, plop my butt down on the couch and turn on the TV and watch my shows, and I was happy.
Nothing better. Sugary cereal and Saturday morning cartoons, nothing better.
Buy yourself some alone time away from your family.
There you go. Now kids, what are they doing? They're just watching their stuff on their tablets.
They're watching Euphoria.
There you go. Oh boy. I watched that show. And it's like every episode I'm shocked with how much I see of every character. I'm like, wow, okay.
Yeah. Nobody loves Blue's Clues anymore. They only love Euphoria.
Euphoria. That's a show. Number 2, dial-up internet. Oh no. The noise. The awful screeching. Yeah, well, wasn't it? Remind me, you couldn't use the internet if you wanted to make a phone call, right? It was one or the other?
No. Yeah, you had to get off. I'd be like chatting with my friends on MSN and like, whatever. And my brother would call down and be like, get off the internet.
Yeah, I remember this. Yeah, it was one or the other. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it was like a whole thing that lasted to get on. It was maybe like 30 seconds, right? Because it would, and it was like that awful screech.
Yeah, really awful sound.
What? Craziness. What? Why wouldn't they change that? I don't know.
I don't know. They really wanted you to pay attention. The
Yeah.
internet's starting, okay?
It's starting.
amazing.
Sit up straight. All right, here we go with some honorable mentions here. Making the collect calls, of course. You know what my friends would do? They kind of cheat the system because let's say one of their parents was going to pick us up at, say, the mall. So they would call collect to their parents and you would have to say your name, right? So it'd be like, you have a collect call from, and my friend would say, pick us up. And then, yeah. And then so they wouldn't accept the charges. They just hang up and then go pick us up.
That's really smart.
That's a smart way to
smart.
cheat the system. But yeah, collect calls. People are probably, kids are like, what is that? So you'd have to like, what was it? It was almost like a long distance call. What was it?
Yeah, you charge the person receiving the call.
Oh, that's right.
For the call. So if you call someone on a payphone, then you don't have to put in a quarter.
Yes.
In order to call them, they accept the charges.
They had to accept. Yeah.
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 Payphones in general are a long gone phenomenon, in my opinion.
Yeah, no.
They're so disgustingly dirty.
I know. They really are. They really are. Okay, that was the next honorable mention is the old payphone. There you go. Pay tolls and coins. Oh, so if you go, I think this is like, because now it's all on cards, right? If like, yeah, if you're taking like the subway or like whatever, before you'd have to drop in coins.
Yeah. If I have change, I'll use coins at a toll, though.
Yeah.
You still can.
Nothing is more frustrating than putting in a coin and it not being accepted. And I'm thinking of vending machines in particular.
And then you take the coin and you scratch it on the metal part to try and get it to like
I never
magnetize
did that.
Or something. You never did that?
No.
It usually works. If the coin doesn't go through, you just like take it. And you know how like where you put the coin in, there's like a metal piece?
Yeah.
If you scratch the coin on it and then put it in, sometimes it works. Yeah.
I always found it was like, if it was like a new, well, in Canada we have the loonie. So if it was a new loonie, a brand spanking new shiny loonie, it wouldn't accept it. I was like, what? It's a loonie, guys.
Nothing better than a fresh loonie.
Fresh.
Or a toonie, even better.
Fresh toonie. Us Canadians, I don't know. We didn't name it. I remember when the toonie came out, the middle part kept falling out in a bunch of them. Do you remember that?
No.
It's a real thing.
No, I don't remember that.
It's a real thing.
That's
apparently,
crazy.
Yeah, apparently if you have a toonie with like the middle part out, it's like worth more than the $2 that the toonie's worth. I'm not really sure the exact number. Which brings us to our number one thing that kids of today, they can't do. And that is one of my favorite things to do as a kid. Rent a video at a video store. Yes, you had to go into a video store. Phoebe, nostalgia for this is sky high for me. In a second, if a video store like Blockbuster came back, I would go there because I loved every minute of that experience. What about you?
Yeah, no, 100%. When I was younger, there was a video rental store. It was like a locally owned video rental store. It was like a couple streets away from our house. And we would go there every Friday. We would rent movies. We would always rent Best of Will Ferrell SNL compilation and watch that like every weekend. And we'd buy snacks and like you could even like buy stuff there. You could buy like movie posters and everything.
Yeah.
And I miss it so much. I miss it so much.
Yeah, I remember, Friday nights, Saturday nights, all you need to do is take a trip to Blockbuster or the video store, and you're in for a good night. I used to have a strategy, too. If I went with somebody else, we would start at the new releases, obviously. They would start on one end, I would start on the other, and then we would meet in the middle, and we would have, like, our choices, and we would go through. And that was the other fun thing, is that you'd actually have to read the back in the day to see, like, what's this about? Oh, and it was always like you'd read like the critics from like some obscure outlet, right?
Yeah.
Like the lobster.com says this movie was the scariest thing I've seen in years. And you're like, oh, it must be good.
I remember like walking in the horror aisles and getting so scared from like the photos on the cover because I was young, and I would get scared. I would see like Chucky and The Exorcist and I would run by and I would get so scared.
I love 90s horror cover art. They're so great, so great. All your Freddy Kruegers and all like the what was that one with the leprechaun?
Yes.
such great
But
stuff.
the movie cover art that scared me the most, and I don't know why, The Green Mile, Tom Hanks.
What?
Yeah,
What?
he looked like he was made of plastic in the picture,
Oh.
and it frightened me so much.
Wow. Okay.
It really frightened me. I have nightmares about it.
Jeez. Okay, I'm not sure too many people have nightmares about Tom Hanks, but that's something.
I don't know, man. Kids are weird.
There you go, WatchMojo, top 10 movie arts that gave people nightmares. Number 1,
The Green Mile.
The Green Mile. Tom Hanks. Phoebe, that was so much fun looking back, and of course we want people out there to tell us what they remember, what they love, and of course if you're a kid scratching your head, what blows your mind the most? Drop it in the comments. Phoebe, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me. I always have the best time with you.
That's right. Well, hey, guess what? It is time to keep the fun going with our first of 2 Mojo Chats of the week. She's Ashley Reyes on the new show, How I Met Your Father. All right, my guest today can be seen on the highly anticipated new show, How I Met Your Father. You would also recognize her from so much more. It's Ashley Reyes. Hello, Ashley.
Hello. Thanks for having me.
Hey, well, thanks for chatting with me. I mentioned highly anticipated because I know a lot of people were kind of counting down to the show. We finally have a few episodes our way on Hulu. Let's talk about it because How I Met Your Father, How I Met Your Mother was a big hit. Before we get into the new show, were you a fan? Like, did you watch that old one?
I had watched a few episodes, a long time ago. I had a boyfriend in high school who was like obsessed with the show. And I was like, yeah, I don't know. Like, I love sitcoms, but it's cute. And then I started watching it again as an adult, and I was like, oh, this is good. And you care about the people, and it's funny, and right now watching it, I think some people would be like, I don't know, that would slide. But I think that's where our show kind of like picks up and takes off with it, where it's much more for like today's age. But the show is great. How I Met Your Mother it's iconic. It's a classic.
It really is. It really is. I remember I had the book, the Barney's book of the Guy Code. I remember I probably still have it somewhere. So yeah, iconic stuff there. The concept's always fun too, because you're trying to, it's almost a bit of a mystery, right? Who's going to be the father? Kim Cattrall is the narrator for your season. That's awesome.
Yeah, I know. She's older Hilary Duff, which is kind of like the most perfect casting ever. Like, it's so good.
I think so. So that's fun. You mentioned Hilary Duff. Talk to me about your cast, because one of the things that that makes these sitcoms so great is the camaraderie, right? Mm-hmm. The chemistry between these cast members. Is it off? So on camera, obviously, you're all very close knit. Off camera, what's the dynamic like there?
It's exactly the same, to be honest. Everybody gets along so well. Very rarely do you get a group of people, especially a group of actors, who genuinely love being around each other and hang out outside of filming. And we would all hang out outside and have like little trailer parties, and it was so much fun. And they became some of my closest friends. We talk all the time, and I consider some of the older people in the group to be some of my mentors, and I look up to them so much. And everybody's so funny off screen and so humble and just good-hearted people, which is so refreshing.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Talk about your particular character. Now you're playing Hannah. Mm-hmm. So the episodes that I've seen, you're recently engaged. What else can you tell us about who you're playing, and maybe tease
further on? I think what I like about my character a lot, and my relationship with Sid. So my character, I play a surgical resident where I'm flying back and forth to New York to try to make our relationship work, but I'm very much focused on my surgeries and things like that. And they try to make long distance relationship a thing, which I don't know about you. I've definitely had my fair share of long distance relationships. So I like how relatable she is. They're not always going to be the happiest couple in the world. They love each other deeply, and she's such a kind, thoughtful person, but you know, every relationship has their flaws and every person has their flaws. And I think later on in the season, the cracks start to show, and then I'll leave you with that to guess what happens.
I love it. I love it. Okay, so I mean, obviously, I mentioned at the beginning that people would recognize you from some other things.
Mhm.
Um, so you were in another popular show, very different from this, not a sitcom.
Yeah. Yes, so I was on American Gods for the last season of the show, which I mean is a sci-fi heavy drama, um, very heavy show.
Now, people were it was a heavy show, but great, and people love it. Actually, people were devastated when this got canceled.
Yeah.
There's petitions. Is there any hope that this would come back?
We all wanted to, like every cast member, we all wanted to. Neil Gaiman, who wrote the book
Yep.
and you know is a big part of the show, he wants it to come back in some way, in whatever form that would be. We all wanted to, so it kind of depends on where it ends up because there's more to the story and there's a story to finish,
Yeah.
and we all want to finish it because we love it.
You never know this day and age. Okay, looking into also some of the things that you're known for. You could kick my butt pretty easily, right? You're right.
I mean, I don't know what your training's like, but I'm
Nothing.
pretty I do have a background in a lot of combat. I was in school and we learned how to fight with swords and things like that. And I took it very seriously. So I ended up becoming certified and learning how to fight with about 5 different weapons. Currently, for a new job, I'm learning how to do more martial arts and things like that, which is really exciting. I love doing it. I am kind of an adrenaline junkie, so anything that will get my blood pumping and you know, I like to be able to stand up for myself.
Weapon of choice, Ashley. What would your go-to?
My weapon of choice, I like staff. We had to fight with
Oh,
these long staffs, and I find it really fun, especially because I'm a very small person. I'm 5'2" and I weigh about 100 pounds. Like I'm very small. I like having a staff and having something that's taller than I am, and I can, you know, waggle my way around a fight.
well, I love the Ninja Turtles, and Donatello always had the big staff. That was always
Yeah.
fun to play with the toys. Okay, so on the flip side, so you're good with the weapons, but you're also a trained singer, right?
Yeah.
You
I
could.
started.
What can't you do?
I. You're very sweet. Oh gosh, I'm not. I don't drive,
Oh,
so
there you go.
that is something I legally can't do. Um, yeah, no, I sing. I started singing when I was little. I started doing opera when I was a kid, um, and then moved into jazz, and then put it away for a little while. And then when I was in college, kind of picked it back up, doing musicals and things like that.
Because you were on Broadway for quite a bit as well, right?
Yeah, I was on Broadway
Um,
for 2 years.
for those that want to get into acting, and there's always that, stage acting versus screen acting. Is there that much of a difference? Do you prefer one more than the other?
The difference that I will say is it's just a matter of emoting, kind of portraying a story for 1,000 people or like this one little camera. It's the same thing essentially. It's just knowing how much energy to omit in those moments where you feel like you have to scale it back a little bit because it's right in your face, or if you have to project to a back row, you kind of have to show it. I don't want to say show it, but you know, feel it that much more and that much further. Um, and I don't know if I have a favorite yet. I don't think I've done enough really. I feel like I'm just starting in both things. That I have so much more to learn in both that I don't want to pick a favorite until I know what I'm doing, you know?
There you go. Don't limit yourself. Sure, you can do it all. You can do it all. Um, before we started, I was trying to see if you can get me to tease anything that's coming up. Can you? Is there anything you can mention, or is there anything coming out on the horizon?
There's some really exciting stuff coming up. I get to do a little more kicking butt. Uh, there's some cool stuff coming up, I will say that.
Amazing. Well, whether you're kicking butt or making us laugh or making us cry, we'll be there to check it all out. And of course, How I Met Your Father is happening over there on Hulu. Ashley, I can't thank you enough for joining me today on WatchMojo's Poppin the Culture. What happens when a couple goes on a retreat and a journey of discovery, and a cult shows up and all kinds of demonic nightmares start coming? Well, you've got a movie called The Long Night, and I've got the director, Rich Ragsdale, Scout Taylor-Compton, she's playing Grace, and Nolan Gerard Funk, who's playing Jack. Ladies, gentlemen, how are you doing today?
Great, doing wonderful.
I love the horror genre. I really do. I eat it up. Anytime there's a new horror that comes out, I'm all for it. And I feel like lately we've been getting spoiled with some really good ones, and I'm putting this in that particular category as well. Let's start with you, Rich. I mean, this is, correct me if I'm wrong, your feature directorial debut?
No, I've made a couple other films, in particular, like this one behind me, Ghost House. I made a film with Scout, so in Thailand. It was another horror film in Thailand.
Horror, horror seems to be kind of linked to you. Why is that? What draws you to those particular projects and maybe this one? Well,
I've always loved horror stuff, monsters and scary stories ever since I was a little kid, so I've always had this kind of dark aesthetic, even though I'm a very nice guy. But you seem like such a nice guy. yeah, totally. But in particular, one thing I really like about the genre is that you have this opportunity to introduce a lot of style and sort of surrealist moments, and the audience won't bump on it. It won't come off pretentious. It won't come off sort of cryptic and bizarre. It's just kind of part of the genre, and so you're allowed to kind of break the rules more in horror and maybe science fiction than you would in a sort of more grounded genre.
Absolutely. No, I think you're absolutely right about that. Scout, you've had plenty of experience in the horror genre, going back to the Halloween, the Rob Zombie Halloweens. What is it about the genre that brings you back as an actor?
I just can get a lot out. Like I've said many times, it's therapy to me. So to be able to get a lot of aggression that I need to get out on these sets. And like Rich said, you can push the envelope in these things. More, less is more, it's like the less is more kind of thing. But I don't know. I grew up, loving horror. I grew up in a mortuary, so I've been surrounded by it my entire life. And I just think it's really cool storytelling, and it's there's so many things that you can do in the horror genre that just interest me and attracts me to it.
Yeah. Nolan, when you're on set and you're doing these scenes and it's terrifying at times, and at the end of the day you go back home, are you able to shake that, or does that stay with you?
Yeah, I would try to get in a workout after work sometimes, that kind of thing. The terror for me, you're never really playing the terror, right? When you're in these circumstances, for me, it's like finding a way to get my heart racing, and then it's about survival, right? So you're not really thinking of being scared ever. It's just more like a stressful day, and you dial that up a notch, and then all of a sudden you're dealing with these cult members who are trying to kill you.
Well, after watching this, I think a lot of people might have problems shaking it when they try to go to sleep. Rich, what do you hope people get out of this particular film?
Well, look, obviously I want people to have fun, be scared and
fun.
Yeah, well, thrilling, like a roller coaster fun.
Okay, there you go. Okay.
Yeah. Because that's kind of, part of the horror thing. It's this it's a thrill ride in a lot of ways. And so, you know, you want, hopefully that people get that from this movie, you know, that they get their adrenaline hit.
Just in time for Valentine's Day, right? You can.
I love it. Counter programming.
There you go. Well, hey, I love taking dates to horror movies. You can. This is the perfect time to snuggle up.
Yeah, close.
I hate snakes. This is something that I really do fear. Was that a real snake in the film?
Oh yeah, we had 2 snakes. Eric, our animal wrangler, is the sweetest guy you'll ever meet, and he has just a way with animals, and they were very gentle snakes. And I've worked with snakes in a bunch of projects, so I love those guys. But yeah, they were very well treated, and they were sweeties.
You're braver than me. All right, I'm gonna end because we here with WatchMojo that I'm with, we love the genre. We love all types of horror films, and I'm curious what are your kind of go-tos? Nolan, let's start with you. I mean, it could be something that you watched a lot as a kid, or maybe it's a franchise that you're discovering now. What's your horror pick, if you will?
Does Jurassic Park count?
I guess any movie could be a horror movie depending on what frightens you. Yeah, dinosaurs.
No, I was telling the guys earlier, I really thought The Quiet Place was just terrifying. Like as far as getting scared, for me, I found it just terrifying. Like I was shaking. I felt that took me like a few hours to shake. Absolutely.
Yeah, and I'm such a loud person that I would be like the first one dead, I think.
Don't travel with you to a scary place. Great.
Oh, I'm the worst. I would get everyone killed in a horror movie. Trust me. Not very good. What's yours, Scout? Your horror.
You know, right now, my partner and I are watching Fear the Walking Dead. Then that pretty much has us hooked right now. But anything Stephen King, from books to movies to TV shows, I'm all about.
The best weapon to kill a zombie?
Anything. Like one person just did it with like an ice pick, which I thought was pretty interesting. Yeah. I'll carry an ice pick, a hammer, a wrench. I'll have a whole belt full of things if that ever happened.
It's good. Utility belt.
Yeah.
Batman action there. And Rich, we talked about your love of horror growing up. I can imagine that you might have a few on your fandom list. What's one that stands out?
One that stands out, it's very tough. I love so many different kinds of horror films. I've always said my favorite film in general, it's hard to classify it as a horror film, but is Eraserhead, David Lynch's first movie.
Yeah.
But if we're talking straight, just horror, I would probably have to go with John Carpenter's version of The Thing. From the 80s. It's
paranoia.
Top of the genre, you know.
A lot of paranoia. Well, you know what? I think a lot of people are going to put your film in one of their favorites lists because it's a great time. We do encourage everyone to check it out especially if you're a fan of horror. Something new, something great, and something pretty terrifying. It's called The Long Night. Hey, thank you guys so much. Had a lot of fun today.
Thank you.
Well, that's going to do it for another episode, everybody. My thanks, of course, to Phoebe for bringing the fun, Ashley, Scout, Nolan, Rich, such great guests today. And hey, a big thanks going out to you for watching and listening. Till next time, I've been Mr. Hollywood, Poppin the Culture.